Hey, everybody. If you are anything like myself, the last 24 to 36 hours have been mind-blowing, to say the least, and that's putting it mildly. So the last time I came to you guys and I did a video about the coronavirus, I came from a place of annoyance, mainly just an overall annoyance of it, because I felt like people were panicking a bit too much. Now, that was just probably, a couple days ago? And now we are at Friday. And since then, they have pretty much shut down everything. All right. It started shortly thereafter. I did the same day I did the video. The NCAA, which I love March Madness. I am a huge college basketball fanatic. They decided to go ahead and play without fans. And I kept saying to myself, well, shit, they might as well not even play. I mean, I cannot even imagine a game without fans. Now, prior to that, the day before, I believe Golden State and the Nets had also made the decision to play without fans. So you almost felt like you knew what was coming. And then later on that day, of course, the NBA, after Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz tested positive for the coronavirus, they decided to shut the shit down. Now, that same evening, y'all president, Donald Trump, got on TV and delivered an address, basically addressing, I hate to say coronavirus because that's a very general term. COVID-19 is technically what this virus is, but he went on TV to address it. And you would think that the leader of the free world is supposed to make people feel better. And basically what happened is, after he delivered his address, and there was a lot of falsehoods in there that they had to pretty much clean up the next day, things got worse fast. And I'm talking things just got really, really bad, really, really quick. It's like enough to make your head spin. The stock market, which was already on a decline, they had, it's pretty much crashed at this point, right? All the other major sports organizations followed suit of the NBA. You had the PGA Tour is now postponed or canceled. Major League Baseball has now delayed theirs. NHL has suspended their season. I feel like I'm missing something. Of course, we know the NBA. It's pretty much everything is shut the hell down. It's just shut down. Hollywood has basically also delayed their premieres of a couple of movies that they had coming out. The United States is pretty much shutting down. I was at the store yesterday, and me and my daughter stopped by. And I noticed that the parking lot was relatively crowded. Now, usually I don't see crowds like that until like Black Friday or maybe like a day before Thanksgiving or something like that. When I tell you, when I got in there, it was pandemonium. There was no water. Milk was scarce. There was no toilet paper of any kind, which I'm still kind of confused how the two correlate, COVID-19 and toilet paper. I've looked at the symptoms and diarrhea is not one of them. So I'm still trying to understand, do people just plan on being very, very shitty for the next couple of weeks or so? Because I saw people with carts of toilet paper. It was just pandemonium. Target was the same way. Walmart was the same. It was just madness. And all of this is due to panic. And like I said, in my previous video, I felt a little annoyed by it, but I am not annoyed with the public not necessarily knowing how to go about this. And the reason why I cannot be mad at people not understanding or feeling like this is super serious, even though the numbers worldwide don't necessarily imply that, even though there have been higher deaths in certain countries, we still have a relatively low number of people that have tested positive here. Now, that doesn't mean much of anything which I'm going to tell you why. But even with the numbers that we have here in the United States, it still seems relatively calm, but the reaction is not. But I'm not blaming the people for that. I'm not blaming the NBA for making the decision, even though, again, March sadness is what we calling it, okay? Because I just don't know what to do without watching these tournaments. Like, that just hurt. That broke my heart. I'm sorry. That broke my heart. But again, I'm not blaming people for not knowing. I'm just not, because you can't really blame people for their anxiety in this if the lead has not done enough in panic prevention. They haven't done enough. There has been no clear, concise message to the public saying, listen, this is what this is. This is called COVID-19. And these are the symptoms. This is what you should look for. And we have testing available. They have dropped the ball. They had a failed response to all of this, which is why you see this domino effect where things are just falling off. So in my area, the schools, I have a feeling by next week, the schools are going to probably make the decision to close. Now, some of the suburbs in my area, maybe farther towards Chicago, toward the city, have decided to, for the next couple of weeks or so, because they have spring break at the end of March, for the next couple of weeks, they're going to have the kids sitting out. And they're going to go to what they call e-learning days. They're basically just logging in on their Chromebooks or whatever they have, and they're going to learn like that. The area in which I live, the schools have not made that call yet. Yesterday, they put out a message to us, to the people in this area, saying that, listen, we're not closing the schools. However, we're not doing any more parent meetings. The kids can't go on their field trips that they plan. Some of these kids had international trips. They had trips to Washington, D.C. Like, they're doing none of that. All of that is over. It's canceled. Now, my daughter, who's an athlete, she's a freshman and she made varsity. She was very excited about her freshman year being able to play varsity. She was worried about them shutting down the sports, spring sports, which I can understand. A lot of kids are on edge. They've decided to go ahead with the spring sports. However, there will be no spectators. So these kids will basically play their games without anybody watching, which I think that's best. Okay. I think that's probably the best course of action. And I told her, I was like, listen, y'all lucky, because some of these kids, they are canceling, especially at the college level. They've canceled their seasons. Some of these kids have been working all year round training, and their season is done, and they are devastated. And I can understand why. Because it's been such a reactionary response to everything that's been happening. And I'm still putting that at the feet of the administration here, because they did a piss poor job of messaging to the people. See, the reason why, now I have a lot of people that surrounded me. I have a lot of friends that's like, they're in a panic right now. They're afraid of COVID-19. I still stand by the fact that I'm just not worried like that. And let me explain why. It's not to say that we can't come in contact with this virus, right? It's not to say that. However, what I also realize here is that COVID-19, which falls under the coronavirus umbrella, is not that different from SARS. And the funny thing about all of this is that people are having a case of amnesia when it comes to pandemics. We have had pandemics before, not necessarily the response that we're having right now to it, but we have been through pandemics. We've been through them. SARS, which is pretty almost similar to COVID-19, was highly contagious, and very deadly. It infected people, according to the CDC, skin to skin, coughing and sneezing. So when you look at the way it was transmitted, it sounded exactly like COVID-19. It killed over 8,000 people in 17 countries around the world. The difference in COVID-19 and SARS is that during SARS hit the scene in China, also originating in China, in 2003. They had the countries, including United States, had an infrastructure that pretty much was able to contain it a little differently. And by 2004, there were no more reported deaths of SARS. Again, deadly virus. And also the difference between SARS and COVID-19 is that there was no such thing as social media to put people in a panic. We live in a 24-hour news cycle. And if you want to include, of course, actual news channels, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have all these different media outlets in place that we did not have in 2003 to put people at this kind of anxiety level. We just didn't have that. But SARS and COVID-19, when you look at them, the symptoms are similar, extremely similar. The rate of, being contagious is extremely similar. Again, SARS, people were afraid of SARS at the time. But all of a sudden, like I said, people are having amnesia. We didn't close down things like we're doing now. The truth of the matter is people are just being reactionary. And you can't necessarily sit here, and I personally can't sit here and be like, well, they're just doing too much. Are they? Are they doing too much? Or is it just that they don't know what to do because the government has failed to deliver a clear, concise message? The president of the United States has been denying that this was even a thing over the last several weeks, even though the United States knew that this was coming and they had time to try to isolate it and do more. They still don't even have the proper testing available. They don't even have enough testing kits to test people. All right. Italy is getting hit pretty hard right now, and they've had probably one of the highest rates of death to this. Now, South Korea, which is pretty much next door to China, they have had a relatively low number of deaths. High population. It's a pretty congested country, but South Korea has had a relatively low number of deaths to date. And that is because of their responses to it. They have tested over 200,000 of their citizens for this. So when they test them, they're able to kind of figure this out. And they're also using technology. They're using their phones. They're using that kind of technology to track the people and kind of figure out, okay, this is where it's hitting. This is a hot spot right here. They're doing all of that. The United States, I should say the administration, I don't want to say the CDC because they've done what they were supposed to do. Their hands were tied. The administration has had a very delayed response in all of this. So what do? If the administration has been slow in dragging their feet, they are relatively, I've heard something along the lines of the way Italy is right now, the United States is delayed by 10 days of that same kind of outbreak, so to speak. And that again lies at the foot of the administration. Because there have been poor in messaging. They don't have a clear, concise message. A lot of us don't even know necessarily what to look for, what this is. And so guess what happens? When that happens and we don't know what this is, we don't know what to look for, we don't know you've only heard a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Guess what people do? They fill in their own blanks. They'll say stuff like, well, it's just like the flu. I've said that. I admittedly was like, well, shit, the flu killed more people. We fill in the blanks for that because we don't know. And then you have the social media element that we didn't have before in the other big pandemics. And now you have a shit show. You have people basically shutting down the world, or the United States is attempting to shut down. Okay. And there's really we don't even know how long this will go on. So I've been seeing a lot of schools saying, okay, we're going to shut down for 3 weeks. All right, we're going to shut this down. We're going to take off for 3 weeks. We're going to do this for 3 weeks. I've been seeing 3 weeks. Okay, so somewhere along the line, somebody is telling them, okay, this is how much time we need to isolate. But are you really isolating people? Are people really going to stay where they need to stay? I understand, I didn't understand it at first, but I get why these big, big crowds and gatherings, it's necessary to not have that, because they want to slow down the spread. And then when we don't have the testing kits available, we don't have enough of those, you're just trying to figure out, they're just trying to scramble and figure out, okay, how do we stop the spread of that? The government is fucked up right now and they don't know what they're doing, but we as an organization, how do we help by slowing down the rate of transmission? Because that's all we know what to do. People are feeling helpless. So all this anxiety comes from a lack of understanding it. We don't know. And so we fill in our own blanks because the government has dropped the ball. If you guys haven't done so yet, there's this documentary on Netflix called Pandemic. You should check it out, because most hospitals have prepared for these very things. Hospitals have prepared for pandemics. They are prepared for pandemics. They go through trials. They go through testing. They do all of that. They don't have the test available, a lot of these hospitals, to even do. They just know how to react when people are coming in there in droves. They know how to do that. But some of these hospitals don't even have the test, guys. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. But again, this is coming from a president who didn't make things better when he went on national TV the other night. He made things worse. And I kid you not, it almost seems like as soon as he opened his mouth and he finished, and y'all might have heard him on Hot Mic say, okay, things went south. And they went south quick. And every time you turn around, something is closing. This is closing. This is closing. We're not doing this. We're shutting this down. And I'm like, God damn. And so when I see people saying, I had this guy on Facebook yesterday say, oh, this is a hoax. This ain't real. The government is doing this. And my cousin texted me after she saw the post. She's like, oh, he's so ignorant. Why do people? And I told her, I was like, listen, is he really ignorant? Are you meaning ignorant as in he's just stupid, or ignorant is he just don't know? And the truth of the matter is, I cannot necessarily even fault those people. There's going to be conspiracy theorists for everything. But if we don't have a clear, concise message on what we're looking at, and people fill in their own blank, is he ignorant to the fact that maybe he just don't understand it? Or is he paying attention to the fact that even the messaging from what we've gathered and what we've got is slanted? Because the media is always slanted towards this person or this, line of thinking or this line of thinking. So who's to say that he's wrong? We just don't know enough. And even though the information is out there, we live in a very surface level day and age where people don't necessarily click on the article to read it. They just click on the headline. And you have to be careful about what headline you're even clicking on, because they might be slanted right, they might be slanted left. It's hard to say that there's any objective news out there anymore. Everybody has an angle. So we are living in a time where, again, the COVID-19 resembles SARS, but social media now exists. And social media fills in the gaps that the administration has failed to do. And so this panic is a result of not having a clear, concise message. Right now, I believe they said there's like over 1,700 cases confirmed in the United States. That's relatively low. However, that doesn't mean that other people don't have it. The U.S. is slow to catch up in testing. So the appropriate response for these big organizations is to say, listen, until we can figure this out, we need to just not put people in big spaces. That we know. to try to slow this down, we need to not put people in these huge, big spaces here. So it's been a whirlwind over the last 36 hours. It's been a lot. And I don't know about you, but my head is still spinning. But I just wanted to share that thought with you guys this morning, and hope that you guys are okay and that you are just trying to stay calm, because I'm trying to. I really am. And I hope that the administration next time will do a better job at panic prevention. All right. I hope you guys have a good day, and go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, everybody.